Congregation near Tamid, studying the Bible. We are in the book of Judges, chapter 13, and we're actually going to be starting the fascinating stories of Samson, Shimshon, as they call him in Hebrew. Let me just share the text here with us. And remind everyone, you could all see the screen, right? That's where our text is. The verse number 1, the Israelites again did what was offensive in God, and God delivered them into the hands of the Philistines for 40 years. Okay, so what does this mean again? Okay, as you might remember, for the last 12 chapters of the book of Judges, we are in this known cycle, one would say a vicious cycle, where let's go back to our cycle here of events, where, and that's how the book of Judges starts actually, where there is the people of Israel are in transgression phase. They do something wrong in the eyes of God, which usually means worship other gods, idol worshiping. God is not happy about that. God demands loyalty, and we are forbidden to worship other gods. That's what it says in the Torah, but the people of Israel obviously don't follow it. What happens? God is upset. So there's a punishment. The punishment is that other nations come and rule the Israelites. The Israelites are in their own land, right? They're supposed to be sovereign. They're supposed to be, having fun, going to the beach or whatever you do as a sovereign nation. But when something is wrong, when you don't follow God's words, you get punished. The punishment is you lose your sovereignty. You lose your ability to decide on your own what you do, just like with a child, right? When a child doesn't behave, you take away the rights that they have, and then they are kind of like enslaved or persecuted by other nations, the nations that are around them. In the first 12 chapters, we saw these were kind of like the nations that were on the eastern border of the land of Israel, okay, which are the Ammonites, the Edomites, the Midianites, the Aramim, okay, so the different nations. Today we're going to go to the enemies on the west side, the Philistines. Okay, we're going to give them a little bit more attention in a moment. But going back to our circle of the book of Judges, the people of Israel realized, oh my God, we're terrible. We neglected God, we betrayed God, and they're suffering. Okay, it's because of their suffering, they understand that they need to cry out to God, plead out, and say, God, please save us. The only one that could save us. And then God saves them. How does he save them? By sending them a savior, which is a judge, someone who goes and judges the people, but also is an army person, is a leader, and is able to gather the troops, win over against the enemies of Israel, the oppressors, okay? And it always says that God's spirits fell on this judge, kind of like, embodies him, and he has God's spirit, and he has these superpowers almost, where he's able to win over the enemies. And then it ends with that judge, that leader, ruling over the people of Israel, and that's the peace phase, and it usually lasts for 40 years, 20 years sometimes less, sometimes more, but that's kind of like the quiet time. And for whatever unknown reason, the people of Israel transgressed again. And we read many times, if you remember, how how they return to this vicious cycle, right? So that brings us to a word about the relationship between the Israelites and the Philistines in the book of Judges, which is really starting now and moving forward, also in the times of King Saul and King David. The wars between Israel and the Philistines are the ones that really occupy the main parts, or at least the main wars of those books. And interestingly enough, today the Palestinians, okay, are named in recognition of the Philistines that used to oppress the Israelites. And who chose that name? The Roman Empire, okay, chose that name when the Jews rose up against them and they suppressed the rebellion of the Jews in the second century. Thousands of years after the Philistines have left the world, they knew the Bible, the Romans, and they said, okay, the Jews are so rebellious, our punishment to them is that we will call the land of Israel Palestine, okay? And therefore, the name Palestine remained until today, until at least 1948, when it became the land of Israel. So in 1964, okay, when Arafat, the leader of the PLO, the Palestinian Liberation Organization, decided he's going to adopt the name Palestinians, okay, sort of like to be the counterforce against Israel, and trying to make the place, instead of it being the land of Israel, bringing it back to being Palestine, to what it was before 1948. So that's kind of like interesting how history plays out.
Can I
Yeah,
ask a question?
yeah, of course.
So how did the Romans get the name Palestine? Is it a derivative of Philistine?
The Romans called this place Palestine. Before that, it was kind of like the land of Israel.
Oh, and
And then they decided, I think around the year after the rebellion, the Jewish rebellion in 134 AC, after the counting of the nation. Yes.
Philistia was occupied initially by the sea peoples around 1300 BCE.
BC.
And at that time, the largest group of sea peoples was the Palestine. And so the Romans took that name as an insult to Israel. They called it Syria Palestina.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. It was Syria, Palestine. Okay, so the relationship between the Israelites and the Philistines in the book of Judges, this one of the central struggles of the period. Unlike some of Israel's earlier enemies, such as the Canaanite kings, right? Because it's called the land of Canaan. When Abraham came first, it was called the Canaanite, not the Philistines. Or the Midianite raiders. The Philistines represented a long-term military, cultural, and political threat. They were organized, technologically advanced, and settled along the coastal plain in powerful city-states such as Gaza, still there today, okay? Ashkelon, Ashdod, Ekron, and Gath, all, okay? Ashkelon, Ashdod, Ekron, all beach cities, and also the city of Gath, which goes more inland. This is kind of like the border of what they had, as opposed to where Israel was. I think they were also, later on, we have evidence that they were also in the more northern coast, all over here. They were, as George mentioned, were really men of the sea. Again and again in Judges, Israel falls under Philistine domination because the Israelites did what was evil in the eyes of the Lord. The Philistines are therefore not only a military enemy, but also part of the theological message of the book. Israel's internal weakness and disunity lead to foreign oppression. Okay, so very important to understand. The Philistines had power and were able to win over Israel because Israel was wrong. Israel didn't behave properly with God. The entire promise to the land of Israel, this whole land, is dependent on the behavior of the Israelites. If they follow God's rule, you will be in the land. You will live there for good and have serenity and prosperity. If you do not follow my laws, you're out. I'm going to bring oppression to you. And later on, exile, right? The Jews had to leave Israel because of their sins. According, if you ask an historian, they might say something different. They might say there were different wars. But from a theological point of view, okay, this is how the Bible sees this. This is the point of view of the theological point of view of the Bible. So at the same time, the boundary between at the same time, the boundary between the two peoples was often blurred. Israelites traded with Philistines, lived near them, and sometimes even married into their society, creating a complicated relationship of attraction, dependence, and hostility. We will see how close these societies were when we read the stories of Samson. For example, Samson and Delilah, right? This complexity is especially visible in the Samson narratives, Judges chapters 13 to 16. Samson is raised specifically to begin saving Israel from the Philistines, yet he is also deeply drawn to them. He seeks Philistine women, attends their feasts, and moves freely between Israelite and Philistine worlds. The stories are filled with tension between intimacy and violence. Marriages become traps, riddles turn into bloodshed, and personal revenge escalates into national conflict. These are all themes we will read in the next few weeks. The Philistines fear Samson because of his extraordinary strength, yet they are also fascinated by him and try to control him through Delilah. In the end, Samson's destruction of the Philistine temple in Gaza symbolizes both resistance and tragedy. He strikes a devastating blow against Israel's oppressors, but only through his own death. The book of Judges, therefore, portrays the Israelite-Philistine relationship not as a simple war between two distant peoples, but as a painful and entangled struggle over identity, faith, power, and survival in the land. Okay, so now we're definitely ready to begin our chapter. So we're at verse 2. So at that time that the Philistines oppressed the Israelites for 40 years, there was a certain man from Tzorah, of the stock of Dan, whose name was Manoach. His wife was infertile and had borne no children. So Tzorah is right here, okay, near the city of Beit Shemesh, okay, right here. Here is Jericho, here is Jerusalem. Okay, so today it's like a 20-30 minutes drive from Jerusalem. And you can see it's on the border between the Philistines and the people of Israel at the tribe of Dan, one of the smaller tribes that later on migrated up north because of the oppression of the Philistines, a different story which we'll read later on in the book of Judges. But this man is Manoach, and his wife was barren, had no children, which is always an indication of, of someone who's in distress. She wants children. Obviously, many times in the Bible, when women don't have children, there's some reason for that. Sometimes it shows us they need to pray maybe harder or supplicate or something. There's a reason why this is happening. And later on, when they become pregnant and bear a child, we realize that that's a special child that has children, that has a great leadership role. We take, for example, the story of Hannah and Samuel, in the book of Judges or in Genesis, the foremothers, right? Sarah, Rebecca, Rachel, they were all barren and had children that were then great leaders and builders of the Jewish nation. So there's a hint already in the text that something great is going to happen here with this woman. We don't know her name. They say his name. His name is Manoach, which comes from the word menucha, kind of like resting. And we'll see he's a more passive, restful person. Verse 3, an angel of God appeared to the woman and said to her, you are infertile and have borne no children, but you shall conceive and bear a son. Now be careful not to drink wine or other intoxicant, or to eat anything impure. Oh, can you pour me some water? Thank you. For you are going to conceive and bear a son. Let no razor touch his head, for the boy is to be a Nazarite to God from the womb on. He shall be the first to deliver Israel from the Philistines. So what an interesting scene this is. The woman is probably out in the field, maybe working, maybe somewhere, crying for her sad fate that she has no children or something of that sort, busy with her own mind, not where her husband is. And suddenly an angel of God appears to her and tell her, I know who you are, I know you're barren, you will have a child, but there are rules on how you raise this kid. He's going to be a Nazarite to God for his whole life. Do you know what a Nazarite is? A Nazarite is in the book. We're actually going to be reading this Saturday on our Torah portion in the book of Numbers, where one could decide that he becomes a Nazarite to God. He takes a vow upon himself and says, I am going to abstain from drinking wine and from cutting my hair. Okay, I will dedicate myself for the next, let's say, 30 days to God. You cannot be a Nazarite for the rest of your life, okay? But you could do it for a certain period of time. Judaism does not encourage celibacy. Judaism encourages marrying, having children, building a family, multiplying, and being a Nazarite is kind of like, okay, the enjoying life is drinking, having sex, and relation, or maybe growing your hair wilder, or at least saying, I'm going to abstain from those for a certain amount of time. It's sort of like dedicating myself to God in return for maybe something that God will do to me. Let's say I'm very ill or something of that sort. So I might say, if I become healthy, I will make myself a Nazarite. Okay, kind of like in return to God, as like kind of like a gift to God. It's like a different way of a vow would work. So here in this special case, the angel comes and says, you need to raise him as a Nazarite. Why? Because his goal in life is to save Israel from the Philistines. Okay, so it's more clear now what the Nazarite is. And what he tells her are the laws in the book of Numbers that talks about the laws of the Nazarite. He basically repeats these laws to her. And then, verse 6, the woman went and told her husband, right? A good wife, right? She's like, you won't believe what happened to me today. I was at the field, I was working. She runs to him and she's like, this is what happened. And she says, an agent of God came to me. He looked like an angel. Power out. Adela,
Yes,
can you hear us?
I can hear you, but I don't see anything.
What?
I can hear you, but I don't see the screen for some
Wait, hold
reason.
on a
Oh, there you are.
second.
Now I see you.
Um, Hi, what's going on, Miriam? You don't know? We we don't have power, Miriam.
Well, somehow you're getting
Well,
through.
no, that's because of they're all connected to like a backup
Oh,
battery
back
for
up.
like 2 hours or so.
Well, it's a good thing it's
Yeah.
sunny out, right? Because we got the solar.
Um, okay. So you still can't hear me,
I can
Adela?
see you and I can hear you. I'm
Oh,
having a
you
separate issue with my camera, so you can't see me. But I don't think
I can see you actually.
you can.
Uh,
What am I
yeah, I
doing?
can see you. Do you have electricity in your house?
I do.
Oh, well, we don't have that here at Ner Tamid.
No? Can you see
Yeah,
me
we're
wearing this red shirt?
yeah. Okay, hold on a second.
Oh, well, that's really good.
Let me just see. Is this still recording? Are we still
It says this
recording?
meeting is being recorded.
Oh, okay. Okay, so we are recording this meeting. Let's see. Um, um, Still going on. Yeah, it's really weird. Um, there's a power outage in my apartment building in High Ridge. We got a notice about that today.
Mhm.
Maybe it affected here as well.
But it shouldn't affect us because, oh, it might. I don't think we have a battery. Do we have a emergency battery, but I don't know if we have a backup battery from our solar where we store our solar and we keep operating. Because you said it's
Yeah.
only 2 hours, so I'm not sure what they did. I don't know if they ever bought that battery.
Um, okay, but in any event, okay, so you're saying we're still recording, huh? It
That's
says
what it's
so that we're
saying.
still recording?
Yeah, yeah, I see the recording button on the little red dot.
Oh,
And
okay,
it said it's recording.
okay, so the content of the meeting is being sent to YouTube. Okay, so let's stop talking nonsense and continue if we're being recorded. Okay. But maybe we'll make this a little bit shorter today, but because you can't see the text.
Oh, okay.
But um, But you know who could see the text is you, Adela. You could be like the only one today who gets to see
Well,
the
I
text.
don't know. Let me see if I can see it. I don't see it.
Yeah, I
Oh,
know.
wait, here it is.
You should see it, right?
It says, yeah, there it is. I see it. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How can we see it on our phone?
Judges chapter 13. Do you
Or
want me
they
to-
could all, Rabbi, if they all got on Zoom on their phone, they could see it also.
No. That would disrupt us.
My phone heard you because I say Judges, it says Judges 19.
Oh, there you go. It's 13.
Oh, it's 13.
Yeah,
Oh,
13,
okay.
yeah.
It's not this-
But it's a Christian website.
Okay.
It's got the
That-
story.
It would be interesting to compare, though, right? So the woman basically went and told her husband, an agent of God came to me. He looked like an angel of God, very frightening. Okay. I did not ask him where he was from, nor did he tell me his name. Okay. Please notice the long introduction that the woman has to explain to her husband about this angel. And mind you, a woman at that time talking to a stranger does need to explain, okay, to her husband, why was she talking to a stranger in the field? I didn't approach him. He approached me. Okay. I didn't have a conversation with him. I didn't say, oh, hi, how you doing, cutie, or anything like that. No, none of that happened. Okay. I was like your lawful wedded wife. Okay. He's the one that came up to me and he started like talking to me and all these weird things. He was frightening. He was very frightening. So she's like preparing already the ground for, and maybe her Manoach husband, Manoach is also like calm and restfulness person, but maybe maybe he has a temper. Maybe it's like a counter name. Maybe he's not like, my mother once wrote a midrash about that. Okay, maybe he's not the most pleasant person. So he said to me, she tells her husband, the angel said to me, you are going to conceive and bear a son. Drink no wine or other intoxicant, and eat nothing impure, for the boy is to be a Nazarite to God from the womb to the day of his death. Okay? She forgets to say one very important thing. Okay? One thing is, let no razor touch his head. And why is that? That's because we know that at the end of his days, a razor touched his head. His head, okay, he was shaved by Delilah, right? And that got him, took away his strength, okay? But the most important thing is she fails to mention that this little kid is going to deliver Israel from the Philistines. That's the most important thing that she was told. She keeps that as a secret to herself. Why would she not tell her husband? And I would only assume she would never tell anyone else this her entire life. Because what mother wants her son to go out to war and fight all the Philistines? Okay, maybe if she doesn't say it, it won't happen. And maybe also not to kind of like jinx him. That's his destiny. That's his destiny. That will be between him and God. But I won't advertise it. And also not to expose him in that sense. So he will be the target of the Philistines. Once another person knows it, everyone knows it, and it becomes kind of like his destiny, and he could get hurt. So, any news? Oh, okay. You could tell them that I got a notice from my apartment building that today there'll be a outage. Edison is like cutting off the power, but it was only to our apartment building. Maybe they knocked something down. Yeah, maybe something went wrong and the whole block got knocked out. Okay, so it might be my fault. Uh, yeah, or Samsung. We are talking about Samsung and his great powers. So maybe maybe he's to blame. So yes, of course.
So Orthodox kids don't get their haircut until they're 3, right?
Mm.
Does that
Uh, mm, that's a very interesting question. That's not the custom that I know. The custom is that they are kind of like uh, pure and innocent and without any blemish, sort of like, which is kind of like a little bit the concept of a Nazarite. But when they're 3 years old, they cut their hair when they start studying Torah, and kind of like now the Torah is guarding them and keeping them impure and all that. So it's like in a metaphoric way. But it's interesting. I never thought about it in that way. Maybe. So now Manoach is introduced to our story on verse 8. Manoach pleaded with God. Oh, my sovereign, he said, please let the agent of God that you sent come to us again and let him instruct us how to act with the child that is to be born. Now, what's going on here? Your wife told you what's going on. Your wife told you that a man of God came, said she's going to have, you're going to have a child, and these are the instructions of how to raise the children. So why are you now turning to God and asking for that angel of God to come back and tell you what to do with that man? Obviously, there's an issue of trust here. Yeah, he probably is. Maybe he's think his wife is making up a story. Maybe he's even more suspicious that she had an affair with someone when she was out working in the field. He can't trust his wife, maybe he feels. And now if he wants to verify the story. If this really happened, God, bring the angel of God back. So I want to hear this. He doesn't trust in that sense. Like the woman has a more trusting nature in that sense. But God heeded Manoach's plea, and kind of like in a way, God is like, okay, I don't want to mess up this family. I don't want them to fight about what happened. I'm going to reaffirm what happened, so Manoach could also calm down, go back to being a Manoach, going back to his serenity, and tell him the way it really happened. And the angel of God came to the woman again. The angel of God does not come to Manoach. Okay, interesting. Again, he comes to the woman only. She was sitting in the field, and her husband Manoach was not with her. The woman ran and hastened to tell her husband. Okay, so the woman is like, tells the angel, listen, this can't happen again. Okay, and like my husband has these trust issues. You have to tell this to him in person. Please wait here. I'm going to run back home. I'm going to get him. Don't go anywhere. Okay. So she said to him, the man who came to me before has just appeared to me again. Manoach promptly follows his wife. He came to that figure and asked him, are you the one who spoke to my wife? Yes, he answered. Then Manoach said, may your words soon come true. What rules should be observed for the boy? Now let's see, okay, what does the angel of God say to Manoach, comparing the other versions that we hear? The angel of God said to Manoach, the woman must abstain from all the things against which I warned her. She must not eat anything that comes from the grapevine, or drink wine, or other intoxicant, or eat anything impure. She must observe all that I commanded her. Okay? So interesting. He's not saying this is how you raise the child. It's more about the woman. Like, Manoach, it's very nice to meet you, but I don't, you're not the focus of the story. The focus of the story is the man, the woman, and the offspring. That's what we care about here, which is interesting. But she is nameless. We don't hear her name here. So we are not fully understanding of what is the whole point here, but the whole point is really to focus on the child and not on the father. And of course the woman and not the husband. So now Manoach said to the angel of God, let us detain you and prepare a kid for you, okay, like an offering, a goat. But the angel of God said to Manoach, if you detain me, I shall not eat your food. And if you present a burnt offering, offer it to God. I'm not God, I'm just his messenger. For Manoach did not know that he was an angel of God. His misbelief, his distrust in the person himself, a messenger of God, can't be more obvious to us, the readers. So Manoach said to the angel of God, what is your name? He's so suspicious, right? We should like to honor you when your words come true. The angel said to him, you must not ask for my name. It is unknowable. Manoach took the kid and the grain offering and offered them up on the rock to God. And a marvelous thing happened while Manoach and his wife looked on. As the flames leaped up from the altar towards the sky, the angel of God ascended in the flames of the altar, while Manoach and his wife looked on, and they flung themselves on their faces on the ground. The angel of God never appeared again to Manoach and his wife. Manoach then realized that it had been an angel of God. Okay? So he finally comes to the realization, oh yes, everything the woman told me was true. Everything the man that I was suspicious of is true. I better start listening up. Okay? Very interesting, different models of beliefs and trust, that the woman is all trustworthy, all believing, etc. And Manoach has a more skeptical view of things, but when it's proven to him, lo and behold, he sees the fire. He says all these miracles happening, then he is trusting. Okay? And very, serious distrust of his wife as well. And then they fell on the ground, and then Manoach said to his wife, we will surely die, for we have seen a divine being. So now he's like, oh my God, we saw the man of God. It's like almost like seeing God. God will now kill us, right? Because if you see God or his divinity, you cannot live. You cannot stand in the presence of God and fully live. Where do we remember that? We remember that from different stories in the Torah, right? And but his wife said to him, had God meant to take our lives, our burnt offering and grain offering would not have been accepted, nor would we have been shown all these things. And God would not have made such an announcement to us. So again, her belief and her trust and her, way of conducting herself and her beliefs are really kind of like shadowing her husband's approach. And she's like, you have to trust in God. God would have not have us go through all of this if he would not want us to live. And I am supposed to have a child. If you remember, she's telling her husband, God promised that I will bear a child, that I will finally have what I've wanted. God has answered our prayers. Don't always look at the negative side of life and think that things are going to be wrong or something's going to go wrong. Try to look at the more positive of a way of life and trust God and also his word. In that sense, it's also very interesting because we are at a time where the people of Israel are not trusting God. And because they're not trusting God, they are punished and sort of like moved into the hands of the enemies. So the woman in her vision, and maybe she was chosen because of her trust, her strong trust in God, because it's usually the men that are leading the rest of the Israelites astray. They were like all worshiping other gods. They're more materialistic. They need to see in their own eyes. If we can't see the God of Israel, right? Because he can't see the God of Israel, we want to worship gods that are more tangible, things that we could touch. Okay, so the women are the ones that are sort of like holding the faith to the God of Israel. They're the ones who have to bear a child and have that faith that it's all going to work out for best at the end of the day. Okay, so she is the one that's chosen to bear the child and kind of like have the person who would save the people of Israel, but without the materialistic things of impure foods, alcohol, and later on abstaining from also sexual sex, which is kind of like what the Nazarite is supposed to do. At least in other traditions, not in our tradition. And then in verse 24, the woman bore a son, and she named him Samson. They both grew up, and God blessed him. The Spirit of God first moved him in the encampment of God between Tzorah and Eshtaol. These are the areas where Samson grew up. Later on, he also dies in that place. He's buried in that place after he dies in Gaza. And the interesting thing is that God's Spirit is encamped on Samson as he grows up, and I just want to conclude with reading the laws of the Nazarite in our Torah portion today. Sorry, yeah. So that's here. Let's go to the story of the Nazarite, which we could read here. God spoke to Moses, saying, "Speak to the Israelites and say to them, if any man or woman explicitly utters a Nazarite's vow to set themselves apart from God, they shall abstain from wine and any other intoxicant," which we read today. "They shall not drink vinegar or of wine or any other intoxicant, neither shall they drink anything in which grapes have been steeped, nor eat grapes fresh or dry. Throughout the term of their vow as Nazarite, no razor shall touch their head. It shall remain consecrated until the completion of their term as Nazarite of God, the hair of their head being left to grow untrimmed." Okay? Throughout the term that they have set apart for God, they shall not go in where there is a dead person. That is not mentioned in our story. Okay? And throughout their term as Nazarite, they are consecrated to God. And then it tells us the story of what happens when they conclude being the Nazarite, and there are different offerings that they need to bring to God at the end of the term of them being a Nazarite. And again, there's nothing here about abstaining from sexual relationships with women. That is something that Christianity took later on, okay, and put upon their monks, which are really kind of like the Nazarite of their ideal. Although they did grow their hair long, but they did not abstain from alcohol in that sense, right? They are allowed to have alcohol. So this is kind of like an opening for today. And I suggest, because we have the power outage, and we apologize for everyone, sort of like in the that's listening to this recording. We're going to conclude here. We're going to continue. I have a whole presentation, but you can't see it on the TV. We'll continue with that